Hey guys, my name is Matt Cameron. I'm a sound mixer in Vancouver, Canada. I got all my gear set up, so let's get into it. This cart is based off of the Scorpio recorder, which gives us Dante capability. For mix console, we use the CL16. This allows us to do up to 32 tracks. Super important to us because in TV, we're gonna be moving really fast and we've got a huge cast. Everybody's color coordinated. We'd essentially just throw the same packs on them. For receivers, we're using 16 tracks of the DSQDs from Electrosonics, the UMC16B, which distributes the RF to all of our receivers. We've got our private line channel. There's 4 channels that we can send out to our guys. Also, one thing that's really handy about this cart is the playback. Any of our Pro Tools tracks can be routed individually to any of the tracks on the Scorpio. Or we've got this Machine Plus that sometimes we'll use to play back dialogue cues of an actor who's not present, but we've pre-recorded their lines. We've got a playback speaker here, which runs off of our outputs. It mirrors the headphone outs. We use this helical antenna from Professional Wireless. It has allowed us to get a lot more range than just using one of these standard SNA, which are Omni. It's well worth it. This is all built by Dinosaur Cases in Vancouver, and they're fantastic and they do a lot of different kinds of carts. This is the back. We've got a little patch bay, an input for A, B, and C camera. We can open this up and take a quick look at the back. Here I've got my 2 switches. One's for data from the Electrosonics, and one is for all the Dante inputs and outputs. Down below there we've got our decimator. We use it to send all of our video outputs to the follow cart. This is our follow cart. It's based off of an innovative Voyager 30. Here we've got our transmitter case, a DeWalt tough system box, but it's really handy for us because we can throw as many transmitters as we need in here, throw a little light on it. Inside the cart, we've got a Furman, which just handles power distribution to any of the electronics on this cart. Paperwork drawer, GAC drawer, just general GAC, stuff that we use on a regular basis. Advil. Our private line IFBs, M2Rs. We've got 4 of those. We're using the IFB R1Bs. Then we've got our battery drawer. We also keep our time code clock it here. This is our wire bag. It's just one of these little Manfrotto bags. In our main compartment, we've got our wires, COS 11s, DPAs. We've got all kinds of like stickies and then various mounts. We've got all these bags. We'll throw all the talent wires in them to prepare them for the day. The Zuka cart, primarily being used as our boom operator's exterior boom cart. In a pinch, we can add this little shelf to it, and then we'll throw the 888 bag on here with the fader, the Sonosax faders, but this also relatively quickly converts to just a regular bag. This thing will also allow us to add the extra wireless to our Dante setup for the Scorpio. So for short on channels, we can just coordinate the frequencies on here, and it kind of acts as a remote box. This little rig right here is our stereo ambience collecting rig. We've got a Sennheiser MKH8040 and an ambient MSR on this really short little boom pole. Here's our playback rig. We've got this Bose subwoofer and this Bose speaker. This is the DCHR coming out from the M2T. It receives up to 2 channels. The speaker is battery powered, so we can run it in there with just the DCHR attached to it. If we need a voice of God really quickly, if we need to do a quick playback, this thing's ready to go fairly fast. But if we don't want to run cables and we want to send the thump track to the subwoofer, this extra output does it all nice and neatly from single cable and 1 receiver. Another thing that's really crucial to my setup is this drum throne. Although it's a bit heavy, it's worth it every single day because it's super comfortable. It allows me to get nice and low and to swivel. It's like a lazy boy basically for sound mixing. Thank you everybody for watching and letting me nerd out about all my sound gear. And I just want to extend a huge thanks to CAS for inviting me to be a part of this year's Parade of Carts.
Hi, I'm Charlie Campagna. I'm a sound effects recordist here in Los Angeles. and I'm really excited to be a part of this CAS cart parade. What's so funny is I don't have a cart. I go out, record sound effects after the fact, after production. Usually it's a special request from the supervisor or from the director to get that hero car, to get the weapons, to get anything. It could be underwater sounds, it could be getting additional ADR outdoors for group ADR. Sometimes it's outdoor Foley. So I do many different things, and it pretty much is a running gun kind of setup. I have a lot of microphones that I use, and I have these new modularized rigs that I've built up from mixed pre's, and I have them here so I could show you. What I've been doing is having these modular rigs, and having them on quick releases is great. It allows me to change the setups really quickly and to have multiple rigs ready to go. I could sync time code on all these mixed pre's and the 700 series independently, so everything will be synced. And I'm able to create these kind of little baby monstrosity mic arrays. So on this machine specifically, I have an Ambio in channels 1 through 4 recording raw ambisonics. 5 through 8, I have Omnis 8020s, Sennheiser 8020s, which I think sound amazing. Blending these together create a really beautiful, wide, immersive background, and that's what I plan to do, record some nature backgrounds and desert air and stuff like that. Over here is a dual MS setup that I just put together quickly for a little B unit to get something a little tighter and a little more manageable, especially for LCR adaptability. And over here is Leland. He's the voice of the Never Beast for a Disney movie. And he helps me record when he can. Over here, I have my old 700 series recorders, which I love so much. I use those for car records, and they're just indispensable. They're really strong, they last forever, and I stick with MP1 batteries, which I find to be something that they never die out and they last a whole day. So I have about 10 of those that I use. I've never needed anything else. They travel well, so which is pretty important. Oh, I have this as well, which is just a DPA 5100 that I might swap out for a 5.0, discrete 5.0. Helps me, and the quick release, you just snap it right in and add the cable, and there you go. So the modular kind of thing I've been doing has been really helpful, and depending on what I'm doing, if I'm doing, let's say, outdoor panic group reaction buys, I'll set a couple of these up and have people running by doing panic reactions. That's another example, but depending on what is requested, I'm able to make something specific for the job. Hopefully this sheds a little bit of light. I'm really excited to be part of the panel to meet people and talk a little more. So thanks for watching this, and if you have any questions, leave some comments down below, and otherwise I'll see you at the CAS panel. Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, my name is Marcos Contreras, and this is my sound card. I chose the Wizicom LFA antennas because of their active filtering and gain. That way, if I need to go more than 100 feet, I can also bump up on the gain. Then the innovative Deploy, which is a DIT cart. I love the wheels, I love the handles, but most importantly, it can split in the middle, and that way I can load it into my hatchback. My main monitor is this 17-inch pull-out one-rack unit Lilliput. I love this monitor because it can fold it and pack it away. It's awesome, it's big, it has SDI and HDMI. I'm receiving all those signals through a decimator in the back of the cart, and the decimator just feeds the SDI. I can get up to 6 cameras on the decimator. I work in a lot of reality TV shows, so having more than 3 cameras, 3 ways to view it, of course, is awesome because I can keep an eye on everything that's going on. Then I'm using the Electrosonics D2 receivers. I chose this because I wanted my card to be a Dante card for flexibility, and if I need to put this in a rack and put it on set, it's super easy just with a Cat5 run. My D2s are connected to my Scorpio, and of course that's controlled with a CL16 as my recorder. I've been a Sound Devices fan for a long time. It just seemed like the obvious choice. I love this recorder and I love this mixer. Super versatile, and the ability to record any input to any track has been super helpful. I use my iPad with the Sound Devices app to keep notes on my Scorpio, and sometimes if whatever happens, I can also use it to mix. The baby brother of this is the A33 that I use from documentaries and as a backdrop in a car. I can add another receiver to it, and if I need to be like super run and gun, it's like one of my favorite kits that I've ever owned. And it's a great pairing if you have a Scorpio on an 8 series recorder. The whole thing packs away, which is super nice, and it's just, you know, packed, ready to go, ready to roll. Thank you so much. That's my sound card.
Hello everybody, my name is Brett Grant Grierson, CAS, and I've been invited to showcase my cart. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to the board members for inviting me. And without further ado, let's look at my cart. Criteria for my cart configuration was lightweight, compact, and versatile. It should be able to break down easy, to ship with a modular design that I can configure easy to adapt to any location. I wanted to get my whole sound package reduced to just 2 carts, my main cart and a utility cart. I took an aluminum tripod from Innovative Industries. It's a lightweight, heavy-duty riser, and their casters have locking swivels which minimize the wheel wobble. I cut down the legs so that the wheelbase was closer to 30 inches, which makes going through standard door frames much easier. I fabricated a detachable cage with 19-inch rack rails and managed to limit myself to 6 spaces for a utility drawer and my neon power distribution. A sandbag draped over the front steering bar along with the battery distribution help add stability. An L-track to attach cables, or in this case, my 100-foot antenna snake. In order to make everything modular, I decided to use 15mm rods that utilize the universal brackets and accessories for cameras. A sliding quick-release base plate on both the middle and top assembly make attaching and detaching easy. This current configuration is set up as my main stage cart with my Cantor S mixer on the lower bars. On top, my Cantor X3 recorder, which is built to operate as a standalone unit and has everything sandwiched between 2 cheese plates. I have 12 wireless receivers in a PSC 12 pack, and additional hardware can be fitted on top rods in any configuration needed. Here, 8 additional receivers in 2 Wizicom MCR54s can be clipped on to give me a total of 20 receivers. 2 electrosonic IFB units, one on each side, one for public and one for private talkback. These IFBs are connected to a combiner and sent to one antenna. My iPad, encased in the RAM mount's IntelliSkin, slots into the RAM GDS dock. My Sorket mouse and a receiver for my keyboard attach alongside my mixing panel. The keyboard can be mounted closer to the recorder if or when needed. Small rig make an LED light panel that can be placed anywhere for illumination. Here I modified the Aviom XLR panel for easier access to the output. I use a Vaxis video transmitter and receiver to feed the signal from a decimator, combining the camera feeds. And finally, this is my operating view. I try to have all my information I need in close proximity so that my glance is never too far from the meters. My wireless display is at eye level and the recorder is accessible but out of the way. That's my card. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, my name is Matthias Richter. I'm a sound mixer from Berlin, Germany. I'd like to introduce you to my card. As you can see here, all the audio equipment is in the top section. So if we have to move in a narrow space, I could easily go just with the top and then just take the battery. The wheels, or basically what's different from other cards out there is that I don't have a frame, basically. As you can see, it's just 2 cases stacked on top of each other. It's a push and pull system, so I just push and pull and you have the wheel off. And then I have bigger wheels for when we go on the beach. I have these big wheelies, they call it, and it's exactly the same system. Also speaking about flexibility, I've got this front door for the whole car, so why don't use it for something else? A small table. So whenever I need a laptop for playback and stuff, you can easily put it there. Obviously, there's a lot of depth in the cart. So, and to make use of this, I can fold it down, basically. And behind here, you have this power distribution system. Built it myself. It's all single fused and it's also protected against RF interference. Saxcom receiver system here, the RX12R. It's an amazing machine because it's right now it's just 1.5 height. You can have 24 channels of wireless put in there. Right now I have 3 modules of the 414, which gives me 12 channels. And this one comes back on my mixing desk, and this can be routed anywhere I want. Next thing over here is the Cedar dialect noise reduction system. So it's like a little neat black box that detects the noise, and then you can dial in how much and how subtle the noise reduction should work. For the last 15 years, I was still with an analog mixing desk. It was a Cooper 208D, and it served me really well. It never failed, but 8 channels wasn't just enough. So I switched from a Fusion 12 and the Cooper mixer to the Diva 24 and the Mix 16 together with the RX12. It's a fantastic package. It's the quietest card I've ever had. There is no ground noise, no noise floor that you have to hide somewhere. So this is really, really what I was aiming for. That's it. Thank you.
Welcome everyone to the Sound Cart Parade of bags and carts and rigs. We've been doing this a lot of years. It started out solo. I think we all started it at Local 80. We started showing off our carts and bags there, and it graduated to the Sony event at Sony in Culver City, and now here we are. We've gone rogue, and here we are on our own with our partners at MPSC. I'd like to first thank our partners at MPSC and the CAS and the boards of both organizations for putting this on. I'm super excited to host it. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Bill. Hey, everybody.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm going to do a little introduction of everybody, and then we're going to kind of go one by one. We'll go in a little bit of the same order as the videos because that just helps me out in my brain. So to start with us, Matt Cameron from Vancouver, wave to us there because I don't think everybody gets a name on everybody's screen. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you very much.
And then Charlie Campagna from Los Angeles.
Hello, everybody.
Fantastic. I'm super excited we're showing off a sound effects recording rig today because I can nerd out on that pretty good.
Thanks. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel sometimes like a NASCAR mechanic with Formula One engineers, but I think I could represent a very large part of the post community as well.
Fantastic. I like to use the car racing analogy to sound carts. I do it all the time. In fact, you'll hear me do it a couple of times today. Yeah. So, and then Marcos Contreras, CAS from Los Angeles.
What's up?
Oh, you're sitting there with your gear too, which is
no, yeah, I had to be in my cave, and it's a good place to get away from my kids.
Nice to represent. Fantastic. Brent Grant Grierson, CAS, Los Angeles.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I hope you got a little bit of rest. I heard you had an all-nighter like myself.
Yeah. At least you can't see the red eyes, you know, so I'm good.
You know, it's what we do. And then Matthias Richter from Berlin. Matthias Richter, CAS.
That's right. Hello, everybody. Nice to be here. Thank you. I'm not a
Fantastic.
CAS member by actually. It's just a coincidence. So someone typed it in, but yeah.
Okay, well, so noted. We'll send the application your way, as
That's all
well
right.
as Charlie. You'll probably get something in your email box. Sorry about that. All right. I am a production sound mixer as well. I have participated in this in the past and shown off my rig. I'm not doing that today because it's covered in dust, and it's about to get an overhaul. So maybe you'll get to see it next year. But let's start off and let's talk with Matt Cameron, CAS from Vancouver. Is there anything you want to add to what you didn't get to put in your 3 to 4 minute video?
I mean, I kind of just breezed over everything there, but you know, we on our show we have a huge cast, and I've been doing the show for a few years. I started as a second unit sound mixer, and then they asked me to come on board last year, coming out of the COVID sort of, I guess, hiatus or whatever, shutdown. And I wanted to make everything very small. Like we use kind of the smallest cart that we can to haul as much gear as we can. So like the R1Bs as our IFBs, we can fit more of those in a drawer than we can, you know, R1As or even some of the Comtex. So I sold my Comtex and I went with those. You know, most of my cart uses Dante, which is, I think, what everybody's sort of, you know, evolving towards. Yeah, and I think it's wonderful. Like, I can't recall whose video it was. Maybe it was Marcos, where he was saying you can route anything to any channel, and we use that all the time. Being able to add extra channels and just route it right to the main mix, or using Pro Tools, running straight into any of the channels, and it's already pre-routed. It's, you know, we don't have to make cable patching. It's super versatile. So there's a bit of a learning curve, but we've kind of embraced that and dumped a bunch of money into that. So I guess here we go. We're doing it. Yeah, and everybody I noticed is kind of using decimators, which I thought was also pretty cool because everybody's amalgamating their video and maybe even using the wireless to send a single feed with maybe 4 channels on it or 6 channels. I think that's super useful for us.
Yeah, I'm all along that parade as well, and find that it's become sort of open-ended. All of the architecture that we're using these days, we try and find it so that it can expand versus limit us from what we do. And I see that in everybody's rigs. Matt, you were a boom operator, right?
I've done some boom operating. I was doing some bag mixing and one-man band stuff, and then more or less I've just been a mixer. But I've had some, you know, great boom operators working with me, and it's been really interesting learning from everybody. Like Vancouver is extremely diverse, and we have a lot of different types of work up here, ranging from like kind of small, maybe Hallmark type sized shows to some of the biggest, you know, movies in the world. So we have some incredible talent, and it's actually been amazing to learn from everybody that's come along. So yeah.
Something that you deal with up in Vancouver that we don't have to deal with quite as much, though a bit, in say Los Angeles or our studios or even where I'm tucked away right now, is you get a lot of rain.
We get a lot of rain.
So tell me how you deal with that on both your main rig and your utility. What's your process for duck and cover?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we rely heavily on our locations department in Vancouver, and they're phenomenal on my show. They've always got tents set up and ready to go. They know, you know, that us and the DIT and the camera department are all going to need something as soon as we land. So they've been really good. Just coordinating with them can make a big difference on our day. But my cart's fully enclosed. I would trust to leave it out in the rain for a couple of minutes. Like, but it basically comes out of the van, and we can tarp things off as we move them towards the, you know, the tents as we're getting ready to shoot. Sometimes there's a lot of shuffles because, you know, it's slow to move a bunch of electronics around when it's heavily raining. And then we just put a tarp over the follow cart, and that kind of just follows along. But yeah, we do rely heavily on the locations department, and yeah, without them, I don't know what we would do. And I do keep a tent in my van, but we rarely need to use it these days. And it's very small. It's just big enough for kind of my cart. It's like an igloo ice fishing tent, just to throw it out there, open it up quickly, 30 seconds. We can roll if we really have to.
Fantastic. There was one question, or I mean, probably a lot. We're going to see questions. I'm looking over here to make sure I haven't missed anything yet. But and that to our legion of viewers, if you have questions, type them in the chat, and they're going to feed them to me as best as possible, and I'll see if I can shuffle them to our. Yeah. I think it's expanded. Like somebody's listening. Fantastic. I noticed something on your cart on the right side, the upper screen. Is that a screen to a computer? Do you have something buried into your cart? Or is it like a laptop extension? What is it?
We may have breezed over that one in the video, actually, but I have a Mac Mini. It's an older one because there was some DC mods available, so I could run it off my Mion, which, DC power is so much more efficient than trying to use inverters. So the Mac Mini just lives on the cart. It's a 2-slot bay. And in the other one that would potentially hold a second Mac Mini, I've got like a solid state hard drive. So I'll back up all the media from, my recording. So we keep it, on the multiple recording mediums in the Scorpio. We hand one off to the DIT at our sound breaks, film breaks, but then I also keep it on the cart for, potentially this season. It's good to have that there just as a backup. And our show it's a pretty versatile show. We have a lot of different scenarios that we use. Playback is a regular part of what we do, so I've incorporated it into my cart so that I can trigger any sound. We can pull up almost any sound or any piece of dialogue that was recorded throughout the season. I can edit something in. I can play back some funny piece of something that was said on set just to remind everybody. We can play music on set for everybody. So yeah, the computer on there is kind of cool. That's a little Lilliput monitor. It's 1080p, and it fits just small enough to close the doors of my cart. And there's many iPads to contend with, so it's a bit of like a jigsaw closing thing. And then once it's closed, it's ready to roll. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I remember that that it was a DC power mod for cars, so that people could put a Mac Mini. Somebody was doing an aftermarket 12-volt mod to power a Mac Mini. I remember I had one at one point. Yeah.
It was for boats or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like we put it in anything running off of 12 volts. Fantastic. Thanks for that. We're going to probably hit you back again for some questions, but I want to move on and talk to Charlie. Charlie, you're our first sound effects recordist that we've ever had at I think I might be speaking out of turn, or that I can recall with our parade here. Tell us about your rigs. I'm super excited to see this, and it's up to you. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, thanks. I'm humbled to be amongst all of you. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's comes up as a special request in post-production, as you know. And there's times I would even be lucky enough to interface with you guys and possibly send a different type of mic array to you, and have, like, I've worked with Todd Maitland in the past. I've worked with Simon Hayes, Peter Devlin, and got information on microphone matching. So there is kind of like a family feeling about it. But yeah, most of my work is solitary because I'm going out getting a specific thing. And in terms of the gear itself, it varies upon what is requested. As you guys know, if it's anything that has to do with voices, you got to isolate better, and you got to get things more kind of in the ballpark for someone's voice. But in terms of atmospheres, I generally turn to omnis, and everything in between, with shotguns for remote car recording and putting labs on engines and stuff like that. But in terms of my rigs, I wanted to share these modular kind of concept because it's something I've been doing since Sound Devices released all of the mixed pre-series with the tripod attachments and all the kind of features that you would find more on prosumer units. And I just thought that was incredible. It helped me interface better than, let's say, a 700, 780, a 788, or like a Diva 5 or something I was using in the past. Things have gotten so much more compact, and the time code is still solid in those machines. So I'm able to sync all my machines together when I'm doing a more elaborate gun recording and having, I pretty much will have recorders in multiple places versus long runs of cables. I found that to be easier to just have things on tripods. So that's what I've done in the past. I would say maybe ever since the Sound Devices recorders were introduced on the market.
Yeah, your rigs, you pretty much torpedoed everybody's Christmas list. I started going, okay. I love that rig with the Ambio and then the array. There was something you said in your that made me laugh. You call them panic reaction buys.
Oh yeah,
and that made me think of like the last hour and a half of every day for me, which is like a giant panic run by.
I know. I should do a group ADR recording for you guys, recording you guys like when you're stressed out. But doing setups like that do work well when you're recording group ADR outdoors as well, just as well.
We have a movie we worked on together actually, and I didn't know you did you were part of a team that we did El Camino a couple of years ago, and I think you did some cars and various things for us on that, and I want to thank you. That was a great experience.
That's super. That's another aspect of what I do is I don't get to connect with everybody, and knowing that you worked on El Camino is a real pleasure because going down to New Mexico, I drove down there, and I did a microphone array. I have a Tesla Model 3, so I did some multiple mic attachments to the actual car and made the car like a huge ORTF rolling mobile unit. And that way I was able to go to different locations and grab backgrounds without getting out of the car, setting stuff up. I wasn't getting any engine mic ticks or anything. So I was limited to where the car would go. But the cool thing is I was able to get a nice wide array without worrying about setups. I'd close the windows, put my headphones on, and hear what I'm recording, and maybe move the car around and then go to the next location. And I was able to get a huge library because I was able to just jet from there, go to the next part, and then go elsewhere. So that was a real wonderful. I did get chased, like in some CD
I know.
area.
I heard about that.
Yeah. I'm sure I looked like I was into some shady business, but it was just shady business with Omnis.
That's fantastic. Yeah, you kind of got to be careful where you drive something like that around here. I am currently in New Mexico again. So that's fantastic. You mentioned you have a bunch of different microphones that you like to use. Tell me again about that. Tell me the microphones that you have in that the Ambio rig, the with the Mix 10, I think of it.
Yeah. So that was just improvised from a recording I did across country in my car. I was working on a show in South Dakota, so along the way I was driving and I had downtime to get different atmospheres of different nature, areas all around the states. And the 4 Omnis I really felt like was a nice wide quad for backgrounds. And the 8020s tend to sound darker than, Sheps or they just sound like if you turn your ears up, that's my analogy. They just sound very natural, very wide. the Ambio really added a Sheps-like quality because they have that nice, crisp, wispy, airy quality that I was able to glue those two in post. I was able to glue those two signals together and, you know, create different types of, I keep it raw, but I could turn that raw, those raw channels into a stereo or a 5.0 or, you know, anything more elaborate if needed. But it really glued together the Omnis in a way I didn't think, like recording crickets and cornfields. The Omnis was really getting a low end from, you know, the nature of that pickup pattern. But the Ambio tends to get a more higher register. So it glues it together very nicely, complement each other very, very
right.
clearly.
So in a sense, it creates a wider bandwidth for you.
Without, I didn't notice phasing as of yet.
Right.
I mean, maybe maybe there's phasing in some of the tracks, but for overall, yeah, I encourage people to, if they're interested in working with ambisonics, to try it with your discrete microphones. They tend to complement each other.
That's a great suggestion. Don't limit yourself to one pathway. Combine things, and the beauty of the discrete tracks is that you can eliminate them if you need to. So you have everything. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and you know, there's some wonderful sound supervisors I work with, and some of them are just old school. They don't really want ambisonics. They don't, you know, they're really happy if they get a stereo. Sheps, great, classic, you know. But some other people, other directors, they want that. They want to have that feeling of, you know, we captured every aspect of, you know, of what it feels like, and, you know, the realism of adding something like ambisonics. And that's been happening more and more as, I would say, the past 5-6 years. More and more people are incorporating that.
Yeah, John Midgley in the previous panel said something. He said it real quick, but it summed up a lot of what we do. The other five folks here on the screen do, and we spend so much of our time eliminating things. So much of our job is the elimination of background noise, prop noises, footfalls, clothing noise, or whatever, and so that we can get to the sound recording of the voice. You know, 98% of our job is they're recording the voice, and then you're there doing the other part. You know, you're providing that other element for the space that our post-production friends need. So it's so interesting, and often I'm never given the chance, and probably my other guys here you know, we're lucky to get 30 seconds for a quiet room tone without somebody slamming a truck door or something like that. So you see a lot of heads bobbing. So yeah.
What's room tone?
Well, I said that was great room tone, guys. It's doors slamming and people talking. Anyway,
it's interesting. One thing I noticed is that the interaction between what I do and what you guys do, it really is amazing, because a lot of the techniques I've learned along the way actually come from you guys, because when you have different mics, even they could be multiple lavs, when you guys have that mix, you know, your left-right mix from your recorders, it sounds so full sometimes. Like, we'll get stuff back from you guys and it will sound so rich and full, and it's because you have mics planted. You have multiple. It's not just that one lav. And I kind of realize when you're recording, it's very similar to what I do. It's just that I have the luxury of not being, you know, under, you know, the whole production, to just stand and for 40 minutes figure something out. But it's a similar process. It's just that it's on an array and it's just kind of just stationary. But it's that wide sound really is nice when you have multiple microphones. It makes the track sound more lively, for sure.
You're making me really jealous. Thank you, Charlie. Let's talk to Marcos. Marcos from Los Angeles. Marcos Contreras, CAS from Los Angeles. How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you guys?
Great. I like your man cave there, or your
Thank
person
you.
cave, let's call it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also a fridge with beer in here, but you don't want to see that.
Yeah. Tell us what if there's anything that you want to add to your video, anything that you might have left out, or something you want to embellish upon.
Sure. I do a lot of work in the reality / like docu stuff. So I already had a lot of cast count is always 7 + 8, like every day. So when it came to time to build a cart, I knew that I could work those jobs and still get ready for like the narrative stuff. So I wanted something that can like kind of fit in between, especially with my most recent gig where my cast was just like 12 plus every day because it was an ensemble cast and it is improv every day and there is no lines. So a lot like a reality TV show. So I was like, where I can build something in the middle that I can do that'll be really easy for like a couple boom days and a couple loves, or like I have 12, 13 housewives screaming in my ear. I wanted to do both. So the cart, it's that this is what it came to be. The innovative cart is not a big cart. It has limited spaces of 16 spaces, so we had to plan it really well. That's why the screen works really well because it's just one rack unit. And the decimator was a big part of that because I wanted to get multiple feeds, but I didn't want to compromise having 4 screens or whatever. I needed one thing to work for everything. So this is why it worked really well. And then Dante versatility, I can always add something. I can add, I have A10 racks with, I can pop SRs in and boom, I have 8 more channels of wireless really quick. Done that in the past before. So, yeah, so, it just versatility. I love that the cart breaks in the middle. Like I said, I don't have a big van. I have, an Outback. So it splits and I can handle it up into the cart and it fits just fine. And then when it gets to set, I just pop it in the middle, twist the knobs, and we're ready to roll. So that was a big part of it. Apart from that, I just, I like having it rolling around. It's easy access. I can open up the leaves if I need to like work out of it on top of the laptop, or my guys need a little extra space on their follow cart. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just have to. The idea the idea was that it had to be versatile for both a narrative world and a not so narrative world.
Interesting. So
yeah.
I haven't spent a lot of time working reality, and maybe help some of us out that don't live in that sort of world. Do you find yourself actually mixing, or is it tracking more, or
Yeah.
or following program? How do you do that?
It's a lot of just tracking. As long as everyone has a clean, solid track, the show really just lives on the ISOs. And my post team is like, don't record left and right. Don't use it, because we will cut the ISOs in and then pick what we want as the scenes are cut. So it really just depends. It really just the idea is just clean tracks. I love Dugan. He's my best friend. I love the tools that we have because I don't know what they're going to say. I don't have a script that tells me when someone's going to scream at each other, and I use that, and I'm not shy from it when and I love it. So it's a really great tool. It helps me. So the only time that I do like major mixing is when people like enter and leave scenes. If you see Stacy come through the door, she comes up. If she's leaving, bye. I don't want to hear her go to the bathroom. Exactly. But everything else is like everyone's up. Your PFLing, make sure that everyone's clean, solving problems as they need to. Oh, a mic fell. Let's pull her out. Fix the mic. Okay, go back in. And it's all like very quick in the moment. But it's a lot of the times just mic everyone, sit down and roll, and that's like 90% of the job. But when those other 10% is just like, okay, how are we going to do this? Okay, we're going to go mix here, mix there, and 4 cameras at the same time, and they're all covering 2 different things. So working as teams, it's also a very good thing. So this card actually, I've added a 4-zone, an RF distro 4-zone, and I can put like a zone here and a zone over there, and they can walk through it and then be totally great, super versatile. The only bad thing about the 4-zone is that it's only AC powered, but a quick snip and a inverter, and now it lives in the cart. So
Which zone antenna combiner do you use?
this is the RF what's it called? RF distro. Is that the company that makes the
Oh, right, yeah,
the paddle with the dipoles? Is that what it's called, right? RF distro.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
Yeah,
the WYSICOM, the other one. Yeah. Yeah.
No, which is also incredible, but the MAT
Yeah.
822, which is great. But
Mm-hmm.
this is like a third of the price, maybe less. But it's
Mm-hmm.
so it's like very simple. It can power antennas, you can dump power antennas, you can gain them down. But it has 4 working zones, and I think it's called the 4-zone, and it works
Right.
super well when I need to do more than just a couple here.
I'm finding that to be we're seeing that a lot. I've got a similar rig on mine. I know a lot of other folks are doing multiple diversity rigs as well, just because we're having to cover a wider area than ever
Right.
before.
I feel like walking talks getting longer. Yeah.
It's just because they can, and so we can't go in and say you can't do that. We got to find a way to adapt to what they've designed, and usually we figure it out. We don't have the pleasure of learning about it till usually we see it.
Yeah,
So,
and those jobs, those like reality jobs and docu jobs have changed the way I mix in narrative, because I'm prepared for things like that. Or like, I never thought I was going to use a 4-zone on a narrative show. Guess what? I used it twice last time. So it's like, I was like, oh, I have one. Great, let's bring it in and run antennas this way and antennas that way, and now you can walk the entire thing. And we're like, cool, we got it. So everyone's happy.
That's great. What now? Your utility cart.
It's
do you have
this one. There you go. It's so my utility cart is a toolbox, a Husky toolbox on a Magliner Junior, I think. It's I just got the higher risers for the sides, and it fit. I mean, when I'm telling you, there's maybe an inch between the top, and it's perfect. I bolted it down to the cart, holes and screws and whatever, and that's it. That's really all it is. And then if I wanted to go back to the cart, I just have to take the toolbox off. But it locks. It has drawers. Super great, versatile. It's light, and I mean, yeah, it looks like that. I like it a lot. And it was like an easy, quick build. And at some point I'll upgrade something, but I need a job first, right? That's what we say.
That's right. Yeah, and for your reality show gigs like you're talking about, what size of crew do you usually have?
So most of the time, depending on the job, for example, a lot of Bravo shows are two-team crews. So 2 cameras, 1 audio, 2 camera, 1 audio. And those days are normal, like, 2 girls sitting in a cafe talking. That's easy, 2 laughs. That's it. But on big, we call them all cast tentpole scenes. And temples are like special events. The girls are getting married, or everyone's going on vacation, or something huge.
Somebody's handing out the rose. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Those temple days are multiple teams all coordinated and with each other, and everyone's tracking the same thing. Usually, but it's just flexibility. Like, hey, Stacy's leaving me, he's coming to you, and we call him on the walkie, and now my guy on the other side is bringing her up, and they're fighting, and it's great. On a show like The Biggest Loser, or a Bachelor or something like that, those are build shows. There's a soup on in the control room, and he has 4 mixes on the floor, and there's 2 A2s miking everyone and running batteries, and it's coordinated. The cool thing about those shows is like you're not going anywhere. Once you build that house for 2 weeks, it's like you're there, and then we wrap the show and then bounce. So those are great too, but those teams are much bigger. What I do is a lot quicker and dirtier. But I have help from my other mixers and my A2s that bring on bigger days. And today we have more than 12. Okay, cool. We got another person that can like mic the girls or the guys and send them in as am I inside working already. So it's always helpful.
That's fantastic. Thanks for that insight and your experience. I orbit around it so much, but I don't participate in that, and I love hearing the stories and so much of the problem solving that you guys deal with, we apply to scripted work. So it's I value any problem solving that anybody pulls off because I'll find a way to apply it.
Yeah, I'll tell you this: I've got really good at miking, very fast. Just like, what are you wearing today? A polo, got it. And then you sort of like that goes into your memory, and like, yeah, there's a running joke now when they show up to set and they look at me and they're like, sorry. I'm like, great, and it's just white mesh, and you're like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks so much.
You got it.
All right, Brett, tell us about your rig.
Okay, well, you know, what made me go this way was I found myself on all my rack mount carts just stacking them with hardware that never really got used, but you wanted it just in case, you know, you never knew what you were going to get into. So, you know, it was top heavy, and you'd always end up trying to minimize it and make it, you know, movable and for locations and stuff like that. And, you know, I eventually thought, well, you know, we got to get smaller, lighter, more compact, you know, and it's one of those things, you know, they give you a sound trailer or you know, a big enough, you know, camera, you know, truck, you got to fill the shelves with all of the stuff. And I was like, if I can't get it on my utility card and have it with me and on my main card, I don't want to keep running back and forth to get stuff. So yeah, it was all about compact, minimizing, and years ago I think it was Ed Tice that had a tripod mounted unit, and it just looked easy, you know, breaks down fast. So I thought, well, that was the way to go. And so yeah, I came up with this, you know, this sort of modular design. You know, it has some questionable, you know, things like, you know, I know one of the questions will be, well, how do you park it safely on a camera truck with a camera crew, you know, pushing their carts around and stuff like that? And, you know, there's the elements that you've got to worry about and things like that. Part of it was I managed to fabricate a lot of the shelves so that everything's removable, and you know, you can stick them out of the way if you're on a camera truck. If you're on a sound trailer, it's great because you own the space and no one's going to mess with you. But those were some of my big concerns with just, you know, getting things bumped and you know, trashed from, you know, someone snagging something as they go by. So far, so good. I haven't had that problem. But I have to say, you know, one of the negatives about it is that depending on where you're tying it down, you know, on a trailer or something like that, you always have to be, you know, in front of the axle, you know, the rear axles of the trailer or the truck, because the whipping action is going to cause a little bit more, you know, bounce and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm dealing with them, and so far I'm loving it. It's really maneuverable. It breaks down super quick. You know, you just pop the mixing board off and the main unit, and of course you can, you know, drop the Meon and the utility drawer, and you're good to collapse the whole thing. You know, so shipping is great. And so those were my criteria, you know, compact, easy to ship, lightweight, and versatile, you know. So that's where I'm at. And of course, you know, you can add anything on that you want. It's just a matter of putting a little bracket, slipping a rod on, and whatever you want to add to it is really quick and simple.
I guess full disclosure here, Brett has built at least 3 sound carts of mine. Brett has a machine fabrication background and is quite adept at creating things. I've sent him quite literally scribbled drawings on napkins, and it's a little bit like Spinal Tap. Sometimes I get a thing back bigger than I thought because that's what I told him, and it's my fault. But we've been collaborators on many projects in the past, and in fact, my rig is built and fabricated by Brett. So you have the ability to work with it in your own shop.
Right, which is great. I think, what started out as a hobby, of course, with my fabricating, I have the ability to sort of look at it from a user perspective, and add my own experience to the build and stuff like that. So you might say you want one thing and haven't quite thought of a few other things that I can incorporate in it. So yeah, and it's fun. I always try to over embellish the cart and make it better and more user friendly, I think. So
I've still got version 1 of the utility cart, which has become very popular.
Yeah, you're my prototype. I always put more for you.
I like to refer to your cart as sort of the Formula One of the rigs. It's streamlined, aerodynamic, fast, and agile. Have you out in the elements? Is there something you're finding that kind of rig isn't working for, or do you find it's working much better for you than, say, a larger platform cart, a studio cart, so to speak?
I originally thought that having a tripod would be a little unstable, but it seems to be, wheeling it around. It's working out a lot better than a normal upright cart, because you actually have a wider wheelbase. I think that's probably the only thing that is could be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But it's working out great.
I see you're using a wireless link for your video assist receive. That you've created a completely wireless. You're untethered, so to speak, from video. And so do you put a decimator or a quad split or a 6-way on his rig and then transmit it to you? Is that how you do it?
Yeah, for a while there, I almost went, I got burnt out sort of running cables to the video assist card, or video village card, because invariably your video BNC would get run over or something like that and break, and then it's like for error fixing cables. And then I thought, well, these drone guys are getting awesome video reception. And so I asked them what video transmitters and receivers they use, and they said, oh, Vaxxus is their choice. So I just bit the bullet and found a good Vaxxus system, and I got to say it's great. Put a decimator on the Video Village card. You're getting 4 or 6 camera feeds to it. It's transmitting to me, and I mean, my little video monitor is a little small. It's just a 7-inch, but it just gives me an idea of what camera's looking at, and that's all I really need. I don't have to, it's ready for queuing if someone's going to walk in. I don't really have to care about what I'm looking at.
Brett, can I ask a question about your wireless experience, Brett?
Video wireless or regular wireless?
Yeah, video wireless. On our show, we have 3 cameras, and they each have 3 receivers. We're using, I think, like ST Video is, I believe it's a Chinese manufacturer. It's not your standard Teradek or Paralinx, but wireless coordination, I think, is a challenge sometimes for the camera team and for us, because if we add another video transmitter to the mix, sometimes that can interfere with some of their channels, and we can get some flack from that. So have you ever had any pushback, or do you let them kind of coordinate that for you, or how do you best manage that?
Totally open to them telling me if I'm interfering with their feed. I'll happily change channels. I haven't had anybody tell me anything so far, and I thought I would get a lot of pushback from the drone guys, because I'm with the Vaxis. I'm really working in their wireless frequency range, and nothing yet. It's actually funny. I have more issues with sticking my regular wireless receiver antennas close to like a focus puller's monitor or something, because they're like, oh, you're blocking my signal, and I'm like, dude, it's a receiver, it's not transmitting, it's not going to mess with you. But as far as video, the video sys guy and a DIT, all great, and they'll tell me if I'm messing anything up. But I've been on channel 1 for the whole season, and so far it's been great.
Yeah, the systems are designed as frequency hopping anyway, but it's interesting. I have that question posed to me all the time: is this bothering you? And I'm like, well, I can guarantee you that what frequency it's on now will not be the frequency it's on in 15 minutes.
Right.
Because it's hopping around, This is great. We're starting to pile up some questions. We're gonna roll back to some other guys here in a minute. Here's a good quick one for you before we move on to Matthias. Is there much latency in that particular video system that you're using there?
It's actually great. There's I haven't noticed any latency at all. And what really surprised me is because earlier transmitters, video transmitters, if you were a couple of set apart or something like that, it wouldn't go through through the walls, and this one, I'm surprised because I have about 1,000-foot range on it, and it doesn't even really have to be line of sight. If you're on the same stage, because I always try to be as far back and out of the eye line as possible. So if you need to find me, I'm probably against the furthest wall from where the action's taking place. So me too. It's worked great through everything.
I'd be surprised that the camera department isn't reaching out to you to say, can we use that system?
I've been expecting it, but so far no.
You just wait.
All right. Yeah, just wait. Now we've put it out there. Brett, thanks so much. Phenomenal, beautiful rig.
Thank you.
We got some other questions probably coming in. Matthias Richter from Berlin, tell us about your rig.
Well, hello everybody. First of all, I have to go a little bit back and have to say hello to John Mitchley. I don't know if he remember me, but it's like some odd 20 years ago, nearly, that I met him at his place. If he hasn't moved, then it's probably the same living room he was in tonight. And so I was still a student, and I took a year off of uni in Germany and went to the London Film School. And then I thought, well, at that time, it wasn't so common to have internet and like these meetings, what we have now. And it's really nice, and it's great to learn from other people. At that time, it wasn't so easy. So, well, internet was there, but still. So I thought, well, I'm in London, so I'm gonna meet some sound mixers from the UK. So I went to George Mitchley and Simon Bishop and Brian Simmons and Stuart Wilson. And it was really nice to be with John. And now it's like fast forward, and now we are both in the same room, so to speak. It's very nice. Colleagues, so to speak. Yeah. At that time, I was a student that had no idea how to go, how to do it. And so it was really nice. At that time, he was shooting Harry Potter, I think. And so for me, it was a totally new world because, at my uni, we were still working on a Mono Nagra. And he was saying about using Tascam and I don't know, like 20 tracks at the time or something. And so this was really like, oh my gosh. So that was amazing. So, and the other person I have to thank you is Jeff Wexler, because without him, I wouldn't be here probably because as I told you, I'm not a CES member yet. But yeah, Jeff was really nice and kind enough to invite me. And so here I am. Well, speaking about my card, call me a little bit old-fashioned. For me, it always takes a while to embrace new technology. So, like in my video, like I told you that I was using the Cooper mixer for a really, really long time of period, like 15 years. And around me, all the people were going with the Saxcom fader packs and sound devices fader packs and everything. And so I always went with my old school analog mixer, and because I didn't feel like, okay, if it doesn't let me down, I'm stick with it. And it took a really long time to really know, okay, 8 channels isn't just enough. You had to have another pack at the side and have additional packs. So at one point I made the jump and then went from analog also to completely digital. The next, but I'm going to wait, will be Dante, of course. But for now, I'm happy with what I've got so far. And it's a really nice package, and I'm really happy with it. And what I didn't mention in the video, and because I just take it granted at the moment, and for years now, is the Saxnet system. Because it's all Saxcom gear I'm using, and the Saxnet system is like, it goes on 2.4 gigahertz. So it sends time code to all the transmitters out there. But what's even more important, you can make gain adjustment on the talent without leaving your card. It's more common now, but it wasn't like 10 years ago. And with Saxnet, it was a game changer, And also because Saxcom was the first using complete digital signal, it again was a game changer because before that you had like analog wireless systems and you had little whooshes come and go and you got the signal, but it wasn't really clear. And with the digital one, it's 100% there or it's gone. But if you got a signal, then it's totally clean and proper. So yeah, I just noticed, like on my last shoot, at one point I lost the Saxnet signal, and I felt so reduced because I was so used using it. I don't have to make adjustment before the rehearsal. I just wait for the rehearsal to come, and then I adjust the gain on the talent. I don't need to know, are they going to whisper, are they going to scream? So. And then even the frequency coordination. So if we have to go really, really fast, then, okay, let's wire the guys first, and then I do a scan, have them all go to sleep, so I don't have signals coming in from the transmitters. But then when I got the scan, then I just send out the new frequency, and it's all done in a snap from my card. And that's what's really, really, I think, is really, really helpful. And with Saxcom, you always have to be a little bit, well, there's some squirks every now and then, and you have to go through them. But once you're hooked, you're spoiled for lifetime. I think it's a bit like with Apple. I think, if you're in their circus, and then you just stick with it. But yeah, that's what I was really looking for. And then also, because what I didn't show, the last show I was doing for Netflix here in Berlin, most of the days, like 100 days out of 120 days, were done in the studio. And so normally the card in the video is like the low mode, I call it, like location mode, when we have to be compact and stuff. But then like sitting in a low cramped chair for this long time period, it's not really nice. So when I know I'm going to be in the studio for a really long time, then I just split it in the middle of the card and have another 8 rack unit rack slide in, and then it becomes a standing height. And so I'm sitting right now, you can't see it, but I'm sitting right now in my high chair, the director's chair. And then with, if it's really high, then I can pick and choose. Well, if I want to sit down, if I want to stand in front of it, mixing it, this really helps, because I think it's also really important that, when you're working for long hours and days and weeks, that we as a sound mixer, we are not really physical that much. So we are normally, we look for our space, and with me, I'm looking always for a quiet space and not in the middle of the action. And then you're sitting there like 12 hours or even longer. And so being able to sit and stand and, make little moves while you're on set really helps with the back, for me at least. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm considering going with the standing rig on my next iteration of my cart. I've been suggested to do so as I get older.
Yeah, well, I think one needs to have the flexibility, go low and be, compact and go for, because in Germany, I don't know how much you are shooting in, like, in old buildings with no elevators and going up to the 4th floor, and you have to carry all your stuff and all your gear up there sometimes. So the studio card is really just if we're on the floor and it's all rolling around. But if we have to go on location, then also the sound van is not tall enough to have the big trolley.
Fantastic. Thank you for your rundown of your rig, and sure. I love that you were able to connect your history with learning from John and now being a part of the community as one of the respected mixers, which is just it's a fantastic thing for me. I want to get to a couple of questions that we have. Yeah. I want to get to a couple of questions because, believe it or not, we are winding this thing down. There is a question that is headed for Charlie. For very low level sounds, mic pre's. Do you have a preference for a rig that has a low noise floor mic pre? And what models or recorders satisfy that need?
Mm-hmm. I did type a response in, but I'm just gonna reiterate that I for most part I think the recorders so far, the sound device recorders have been working just fine for mic pre gain levels, especially for soft material. Generally, if it's really quiet material, I'm indoors, and I'm using high voltage mic pre's. I have some Pueblo audio, which if you guys haven't heard of those, they're really wonderful. All the Foley mixers in Hollywood are starting to use them now. And they're super quiet, super discreet, quiet. But in terms of being outdoors or in the field, the mix pre-recorders have been doing good. In terms of microphones, I stick with the 8000 series Sennheisers because they just have such a quiet noise floor. And they're actually a lot more affordable than Chefs. So, nice. I always recommend those to colleagues. If you're able to get some 8040s, or 8020s, you won't be sorry. You'll be using those for sure.
I've got a selection of 8040s and 8050s that I use regularly, and every time I do, I'm reminded of how great how transparent they are and how quiet.
Yeah, great specs on those mics.
Yeah, we recently added one to our kit for stereo sound effects recording with an MS rig too. For a long time, I mean, as a production sound mixer, it's hard to justify buying sound effects capture mics, but the 8000 series mics are awesome. So we use an 8050 sometimes in the maybe more boxy sounding rooms because it doesn't have quite the reach of our 50s. But yeah, any 8000 series stuff is great, and maybe one day they'll bless us with a 8030.
Well, the 8060 also is that's the short
shotgun. That's a great microphone.
Pretty handy, let me tell you. A question for since we have MPSE here, which is our partner in this. If somebody would like to relay what you would like your dialogue editors to know after your recordings, like what would you like to impart to them? How do you do that? I like to send notes.
Yeah, I've got notes in this. I mean, Marcos, you're using the Scorpio as well, so but the metadata from the app, the SD remote app, you can put in all kinds of stuff. And I think it even formats, like if you put a comma, it separates it into another column. So what's really nice is like if I have a scene that's taking place and we've got really noisy, uncontrolled traffic, I'll usually leave that note in the very first take so I don't have to write it every single time. I know some people like to use stickies, but I try to keep it pretty, basic. I don't really shorten things down to like acronyms or anything like that because we just don't really need to. But I open a line of communication with my post guys too, and I try to stay in touch with the super and make sure that they know. I'll try to talk to the editor, the dialogue editor, if I can, and I try to do things that work in their favor too, because I used to be a sound effects and dialogue editor myself. So whenever, say, we're sending a bunch of dialogue tracks to an editor and maybe we're shooting block shooting, so we've got cast coming and going, I'll mute some tracks of cast that's not going to be on set so they can have their private conversations. But it doesn't change the track layout for them, so that when they're doing their editorial, when they're listening through everything, they're not having to restructure their edit session to match what I'm doing. The track count isn't jumping around. So a small amount of dialogue with them can kind of like help us figure out what they want us to do, and we just try to stick with whatever works easiest for them.
Sure. I like sending a lot. I try and build my email list as early in a production as I can, and I send out the flags and the heads ups and the notes, both good and bad. They like to hear good stuff too.
Yeah,
they do. Hey, I don't know where we are. Carol, where are we in our time here? Carol's there. All right. Well, we'll keep going. We've got a question for Matthias from Jeff Wexler, by the way. He's asking, how do you attach your multiple cases to your cart when you stack or remove?
Yeah, I wrote them already, but yeah, it's again pretty simple because with the racks you have this like little feed in the bottom, and then on the next one you have like a hole, you call it. So when you stack them on top of each other, they're kind of not wobbling around by themselves, and then in the end it's just ratchet snap around it. It's pretty simple.
Oh, ratchet.
There's no science involved really.
Ratchet strap.
It is.
I noticed on Brett's rig, Brett, you use a lot of the small rig components. You like those?
Yeah. They're the cheapest, that's for sure. But you can buy them on Amazon too. So that's probably the main reason. There's a lot of great camera equipment out there that wooden camera and things like that.
Right.
But it's pricey. So I just happen to find that small rig is cheap. It's well made, and it does the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been kind of trying to figure out my next iteration using some of those components. Marcos, you use the pull-out monitor that you have. That one I find is kind of handy because it's not terribly deep like a lot of the other ones that are on the market. You like that one? The Lily?
I do like it. The one thing I will say, it is heavy. I think it's like it comes at like 20 pounds, and it needs front and back mounting on your rack because it is heavy. Exactly, you don't want it to do that. But you know, I have a Zeus on this cart, and that's like what, so, you know, 50 pounds already. So I'm not worried about the cart being heavy. It's not supposed to be like a. If I want to go like super light, this won't be the rig. You know what I mean? So.
Right. But you're able to separate it and put it in your Outback, though, right?
Oh yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, I wish I could show you perfectly. It's so the cart has two just little bolts on the side, and you just unscrew those, and you just grab it by the load handles, and the top part comes off, and so now part of planning your cart is making sure that you're going to have to unplug. You know, I have to unplug my CL16 from my Scorpio before I do any of this, and like unplug all my power stuff. But you know, everything's labeled, and when I get to location, I pop it in and blah blah blah, you know, plug it all in, and so good to go. So it's like such a minimal thing, but you know, versus again, I don't carry a big thing, and a lot of the shows I do, you know, I haven't been too lucky to have, you know, transport come and get my stuff, but when I do, it's great. It's just I just, you know, load it up in the truck. But when I don't, I had a way to get it into on set. Yeah, I mean, yes, it's the little bolts are on the side are super good for that stuff. And funny enough, I talked to Innovative, and besides them being super backed up with carts, they are open to just, if you think about it, you can extend the entire rack space. So if you take those bolts off, and then you say, hey, build a cage then that is 8, 6, 4, 2 rack spaces, and then pop that one in the middle, and then unscrew those, then you made this sort of like 2-3 part thing that is absolutely totally possible. So that's something to consider in the future for them, and maybe I'll build it before, but right now I'm fine. You know, it just needs perfectly like good planning, because you don't have a lot of space, but you have tons of space if you really think about it.
Fantastic. Hey, they're telling me wrap it up. I want to thank everybody, Charlie, Brett, Matthew, Mateus, Marcos, for joining us for our parade of carts, bags, and rigs. This has been fantastic. I've enjoyed it. I hope everybody else has too. And we're going to do it again. And I look forward to seeing everybody then. Thanks to the MPSC and CAS and the CAS Board of Directors and the MPSC Board of Directors for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Good night from Berlin.